Vikrant. Uh, Good evening, friends. It's my great pleasure to be here with you this evening and talk to you about one very important topic of iron deficiency in heart failure. I thank my friends from MCure for having invited me to give this talk, and I thank all the participants for your time and your presence. What an interesting topic today. A lot of new things are happening in the field of anemia, which is an age-old disease as old as mankind. And I'll be detailing to you how the diagnosis of even the anemia, latest updates on iron physiology and pathology have changed a lot since the discovery of the hormone hepcidin in the year 2000, and how it has modified the management of heart failure. Anemia is an integral part of heart failure. We'll be discussing about these two things in the next 30-40 minutes. Again, I'll welcome you all to this show. We know iron is a very essential trace element. It's present in the number of molecular systems and it's increasingly recognized as an important cofactor for a variety of cell systems. It has an important role in the transfer of oxygen. We all know about it. But not only that, iron is also very important for cell growth, proliferation, and it acts as an important cofactor for the functioning of various mitochondrial coenzymes and proper functioning of the cardiomyocytes and skeletal muscle cells. Even the cardiomyocytes need iron. And this iron deficiency anemia, which is an age-old disease, since the mankind has started evaluation, this iron deficiency should have been there. A lot of things have been, a lot of treatment modalities, how to identify everything has been there. And WHO has issued guidelines of how our hemoglobin concentration, our HB, hemoglobin percentage can be used to detect iron deficiency anemia. But after the discovery of the hormone hepcidin, things have changed a lot. We will be just discussing about those things. And anemia, as I told you, is an integral part of heart failure. Many a time, the symptoms of anemia overlap that with heart failure, and as a result, the physician and the patient fail to look for anemia in patients who are with worsening heart failure. Now, with the importance coming to light, thanks to the latest look in the past 2 decades only. So many millennia of things have been there, but in the 2 decades, very fast developments have taken place. Now we go ahead with the talk. We start with the case as usual. This case number one I'll be presenting. She is a 75-year-old woman. She has 26 years of hypertension and non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. She complains of dyspnea and exertion, which has increased since the last 5 months with fatigue. She's struggling to do basic household chores and tasks, and she's on enalapril 20 milligram BD and bisoprolol 2.5 milligram OD. She is euvolemic. On examination, she is euvolemic. Pulse rate is 66, thanks to the bisoprolol she's getting. BP is 120/70. Hemoglobin is 12.5, which looks quite healthy, and MC of 90. And estimated GFR is 56 ml only to go along with the age of the patient. Potassium is 4.8, comfortable. And NT proBNP is 1320, which means she is in heart failure. Now, what will you do next for this patient? Her FT, TSH, and blood glucose are normal. ECG shows sinus rhythm with RBBB. Echo shows dilated LV, a severe LV systolic dysfunction, and moderate functional mild regurgitation. This goes along with the age. Now, what do we do next for this patient? Which investigation you recommend, if any? You order for ferritin alone, or a ferritin and transferrin saturation TSAT. You order for ferritin, TSAT, and erythropoietin, or you go for no blood test at all required, go for treatment direct away, or you want to have TSAT done. You may be wondering why this question arises after the presentation of the clinical picture of the patient who is in real heart failure and she needs more active treatment. But with a healthy hemoglobin of 12.5 grams per deciliter and MC of 90, still why this question comes up. We'll see why it comes up. This is the new thing which has come, iron deficiency without anemia. It's also called as non-anemic iron deficiency or latent iron deficiency or depleted iron stores and iron depletion. Iron deficiency, we know, can affect health-related quality of life. HRQO, fast term is coming very past years. At all deficiency with microcytosis, hypoxia, and iron deficiency anemia treated very vigorously. Iron deficiency without anemia may increase the risk of failure and seems to adversely affect the prognosis of existing heart failure. This also we should remember. The burden of anemia is so great, you'll be surprised to know it's a worldwide problem. And even in India, especially South Asia, they account for the maximum number of patients. 2 billion populations affected worldwide with anemia, and about 30 or 40 to 50% of the patients cutting across all age groups. That means from less than 5 years to 60, more than 60 years, people are anemic. And you can see the brick red color glowing over them. South America, Africa, and India. India is very much there, one of the important headquarters of anemia. And this WHO classification of anemia, we know about months of age, 60 years of age, including pregnant women. WHO was classified as non-anemic patients with more than 11 grams hemoglobin, mild less 10 to 11, moderate less than 9.9, and severe is less than 7. This is rough. But we are not bothered about the mild, moderate, and severe anemia. We know it's very obvious. We are now bothered about the non-anemic patients who are really anemic. This is what I am coming to now. Why this? Because this is the normal values for iron. We know iron for males 80 to 180 microgram per deciliter, female 60 to 160. Total iron binding capacity is given. That transferrin saturation is the transferrin level is 215 to 365, and female is there ferritin 12 to 300, and females 10 to 150 nanograms per ml. Folic acid, vitamin B12, everything is come. But these things have now faded away. The new thing that has come to for anemia is this. How should iron deficiency be diagnosed? According to the 2016 ESC guidelines for the diagnosis of treatment of heart failure and anemia, in these guidelines, iron deficiency is defined as follows: serum ferritin of less than 100 microgram per liter. This is absolute iron deficiency. And we know in anemia, the TSAT increases. When the TSAT is less than 20, and even the patient's ferritin is more than 100 to 299, then also it's called as functional iron deficiency. This is the latest definition of iron deficiency. Remember this. These same figures will be occurring again and again throughout the presentation. This is just to make you remember these figures very correctly. Serum ferritin of less than 100 micrograms, absolute iron deficiency. Even the TSAT is less than 20, and still serum ferritin is high, is between 100 to 299. It's also called as patient's iron deficient, functional iron deficiency. You should understand this. This is the basic of my talk. The iron deficiency anemia has 3 stages. Iron depletion is the onset of iron deficiency, the reduction in storage iron, but still it's normal iron level for erythropoiesis. You've got the ferritin, transferrin, RBCs, iron stores, which usually the liver and the bone marrows. If they are normal, transport iron, transferrin is normal, and erythroid iron, the marrow iron content is normal. Then the marrow iron stores are between 2 to 3, the pressure loop. Plasma ferritin is 10 to 2 nanograms. Plasma iron is 30 to 150 micrograms. Transferrin saturation 50. Erythrocyte morphology erythrocyte is quite normal. It is normal. But when iron starts getting depleted, marrow iron is reduced much, and plasma is also reduced at lower side. Plasma iron also less than 115, and TSAT is less than 30. But still, the erythrocyte morphology is normal. And when this is called as the pre-latent stage of iron deficiency, and the latent stage of iron deficient erythropoiesis. Here, iron stores are out completely. The transport iron also is coming up, is coming down. The marrow iron stores are 0. Plasma ferritin is 10 grams. Plasma iron is less than 60, and TSAT is less than 15. But even at this stage, RBCs have a morphology. Erythrocyte shows a normal morphology. And when the RBCs is in the much later stage, where iron stores are totally depleted, transferrin is so low, now shows the picture of macrocytic hypochondriac anemia. But our aim is to catch the anemia, not at this stage. It's too late. Should catch it in the pre-latent or the latent stage itself for effective treatment for the well stage, iron depletion and and the latent stage, the mortality, morbidity, everything increases. Cannot be walk fast, his heart failure gets more compromised. So many things happen. So it's essential for us to catch the patient in the state of iron depletion and erythropoiesis itself, not at the obvious iron deficiency anemia stage. This beautiful slide tells a very short, briefly about the iron metabolism, how it's absorbed and stored. It's very essential to know, understand all these things which I will be talking now. This is the beautiful intestinal mucosa we are seeing here, intestinal villi you are able to see there. And a patient is a non-vegetarian, then there's no problem for the heme. It directly enters into the cell to the heme transporter. It's called intestinal cell. And if it's a vegetarian, then high end should have the ferric state, it should go kind of ferrous state and go into the DMT1 receptor into the iron, into the intestinal mucosal cell. From the cell, by the vehicle through ferroportin 1, which you can see, and then enters the blood circulation, ferrous to ferric, it goes, it enters the plasma transferring molecule, it gets stored liver, and from the liver it goes to the erythroid marrow. This is the usual metabolism. Now, when the iron stores are quite high, this hormone hepcidin being produced by liver, it was discovered as late as 3 years recently. It just remains quiet. When iron stores are low, it remains quiet and just normal metabolism takes place. But when the iron stores are getting depleted more and more, hepcidin wants to preserve all iron molecules into the intracellular thing. So it blocks the ferroportin and it does not allow the iron molecule to enter the circulation. It doesn't allow the iron molecules to come to the circulation. It blocks that. So that happens. And these iron molecules which are stored in the villi as mucosal ferritin, they get actually shedded off. They are lost by shedding of epithelial cells. So this is hepcidin for you. It's a peptide hormone produced primarily by the liver and is secreted into the circulation. Hepcidin, the master regulator of systemic iron homeostasis, tightly influences erythropoiesis production. High hepcidin levels block the intestinal iron absorption itself and macrophage iron recycling, causing iron-restricted erythropoiesis and anemia, and its synthesis increases in response to iron inflammation and decreases in response to erythropoiesis. This is hepcidin for you. And in the 2016 ESA guidelines, it tells you very clearly that the essential administrations which you should do in the case of cardiac failure, in the case of heart failure, in addition to hemoglobin and WBC, sodium, potassium, urea, creatinine, liver LFTs, glucose and HbA1c, lipid profile, and TSH should also do ferritin and TSAT. This has made this statement came in bold and clear from ESC 2016 guidelines. It's a class 1 level C recommendation from them. Should do ferritin and TSAT. Now, going back to our case, for this patient, you should do a ferritin 105, ferritin and TSAT, because erythropoiesis will get affected in the very late stages. There is no use to going for erythropoiesis. So you should do a ferritin and TSAT. And if you can see, TSAT is less than 20 and ferritin is just above 100. And when the TSAT is less than 20, ferritin 103 to 910 is anemic. So this patient is anemic. So what treatment would you recommend for this patient? You can add epinephrine 20 mg once a day, or you can add ivabradine 5 mg twice a day. You can give cardiac resuscitation therapy, or you can change laboratory ORNI to improve the failure, or you can give oral iron therapy for this patient because he is anemic, or you can go for IV iron therapy. Here, answer is IV iron therapy. Why is it so? This also we'll just look into just now. Oral iron has a very modest effect on this in this type of anemia. Defining iron deficiency in heart failure. This is from Bruno Rocha in the year 2018, latest paper in the American College of Cardiology Journal. Iron deficiency in the adult general population is defined by the World Health Organization as plasma ferritin less than 15 milligram per liter. However, a higher cutoff for ferritin, an acute phase reactant in chronic inflammatory condition, is recommended. Accordingly, in chronic heart failure, absolute iron deficiency is defined as ferritin less than 100 milligram per liter, and functional ID is defined as ferritin between 100 to 300 when transferrin saturation is less than 20. The second time I'm telling you this. And iron deficiency is so common heart failure. It's so high. So many studies have told the whole group more than 50 to 60% of people were anemic, and of these non-anemic patients, that is which are just non-anemic iron deficient patients, are about 59%, and anemic patients were 65.3%, according to this study. And the prevalence of iron deficiency in heart failure population is very common, ranging from 35% to 55, 60, 70%. This has been done in almost all the countries in Europe. So many countries have taken part in the study, and uniformly there. So even the iron prevalence of in India, prevalence of ID in heart failure population is really very high. In the original Sohan Kumar Sharma, it has proved very clear that ID was present in 76% of the patients, with 48.7 patients having absolute, 3 patients having the functional ID. This paper is and this with also in non-anemics, regardless of the left ventricular ejection fraction status. This is very important. It's an independent risk factor for heart failure. In this big study, it has been proved for in men, the total number of iron deficiency patients were 411. Of those, 74% had iron deficiency with anemia, and 57% people had iron deficiency without anemia. Even the women population also, out of the 420 patients studied, 72% had iron deficiency with anemia, and 79% had iron deficiency without anemia. This you should remember. The prevalence of iron deficiency in heart failure is a world statistics. About 50% have some form of iron deficiency with and without anemia. This is very important. And this again is a world war study. And the baseline and 5-year follow-up of these patients, the prevalence of functional iron deficiency was 50%, and absolute iron deficiency was 12%. After 5-year follow-up, this thing changed. Incidence was 19 with FID and more with AAD. And this is the FID of functional iron deficiency had 30% more risk of death, and absolute iron deficiency had 90% more risk of death, 90%, mind you. So, what's the pathophysiology of iron deficiency in heart failure? This cartoon illustrates so beautifully patients with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction in the HFRF category. Inflammation is the main thing. Inflammation is the most important thing. The renin-angiotensin aldosterone system or RAS overactivity, sympathetic nervous system overactivity happens. It inhibits the transferrin receptor protein TFR1, which is required for iron import into cells. Iron deficiency leads to decreased cellular oxygen storing and carrying capacity. It leads to impaired cellular energy release, citric acid cycle. It leads to impaired cellular reactive oxygen species. Everything that's impaired of heart failure prognosis and increased hospitalizations. These go along with the classical symptoms of heart failure itself. This you should remember. And this shows the underlying underlying mechanisms of cardiac myocyte instability in iron deficiency. This is a cardiac myocyte. In the upper part, you see a beautiful cardiac myocyte, which is rich in iron. The fatty acid metabolism is taking place. The fatty acid broken by using iron. The glycolysis, there's more iron, there's less ROI reactive oxygen species for you, and there's more ROI protective agents. On the contrary, the ATP dependence work inadequately because there's less iron. The fatty acids can't be converted to make up energy. There's less ATP, less iron, more glycolysis, less ROS protective enzymes, and there are more reactive oxygen species, which leads to impaired function and impaired mitophagy. And this anemia in heart failure has dual effects: defective oxygen delivery and defective utilization of the oxygen also. Defective oxygen delivery, erythropoiesis is low. There's less hemoglobin, less mitochondria, and oxygen delivery is impaired. And defective oxygen utilization also occurs because of energy metabolism. There's less aerobic enzymes and less oxygen utilization, with ATP synthesis also decreased in these patients. So as a result, the clinical and prognostic consequences of iron deficiency heart failure are multifold. Excess intolerance is obviously there. There's reduced peak oxygen consumption. There's lower 6-minute walk test, the decreased health-related quality of life assessed by the Minnesota Living with Heart Failure Questionnaire comes into being. There's increased long-term all-cause mortality. It's very important in both HFRF and HFPF. This increased long-term mortality occurs because of anemia. Irrespective of the presence of anemia, even in iron deficient anemia also, iron deficient non-anemia, this happens. And in acute heart failure hospital patients, it increases the risk of rehospitalization within 30 days after discharge, combined all-cause death and non-fatal CV events and heart transplantation. The one main thing which you always see with the patient who has hospitalized for heart failure is you don't want to see him again in the quite often. It's one of the very important way in which all drugs are assessed, right from the anti-diabetic drugs and anti-hypertension drugs are assessed, because they should prevent rehospitalization of the patient. And this is jeopardized when there is iron deficiency in such patients. What the consequences of anemia and heart failure? Again, cardiovascular complications are left ventricular hypertrophy occurs, precipitation of heart failure, precipitation of the cardiorenal failure. We know go so well together. It's called the cardiorenal axis, cardiorenal continuum. It's happening. This anemia goes and hits that also. There are exacerbations of ischemic heart disease, and there's reduction of aerobic capacity, reduction of exercise tolerance, reduction of subjective well-being and quality of life. This higher mental functions is reduced, and possible acceleration of the course of heart failure and renal failure occurs in these patients. If you look at the 3-year event-free survival rates in patients with systolic CHF and with and without iron deficiency, patients without iron deficiency, they survive up to 66.7% after 3 years, whereas patients with iron deficiency, their survival is as low as 53.6. This study is done in 546 patients with stable systolic cardiac heart failure. In patients with systolic CHF, ID is the common. It constitutes a strong, independent predictor of unfavorable outcome. Iron deficiency plus anemia in heart failure, it mainly gives 2 issues. The mortality increases when ID is present. This is the large study of 1,500 patients. You can see patients without iron deficiency, they do very well. The cumulative survival is much higher than patients with iron deficiency. Saved with the blue line and the red line. And ID is a negative prognostic factor which is stronger than anemia itself. See, you can see this study. When there is no iron deficiency anemia and there is no anemia, it's normal. The HR for all-cause mortality. Whereas there is no ID, there's only anemia is present, it's higher. When there is iron deficiency and there's no anemia, it's much higher. And both are present. Anemia may be to other causes also, not only iron deficiency. When you consider B12 deficiency, B9 deficiency, sickle cell anemia, so many things. When you have ID and anemia, mortality is really high in these patients. And iron deficiency, more than anemia, is associated with reduced exercise capacity in patients with heart failure. The peak oxygen consumption when there's no anemia and ID is higher, but there's both anemia and ID are present is very much low. And ventilatory response to exercise also is much lower when patient is normal. It's much higher when anemia and ID are combined together. Again, this is the 5th time telling. ID is defined as serum ferritin less than 100 microgram per liter, or serum ferritin of 100 to 290 microgram per liter with TSAT of 20%. Anemia defined as hemoglobin level less than 12 grams in women and less than 30 grams in men. Hepcidin heart failure, as I already told you, the hormone hepcidin is the principal regulator of iron absorption and its distribution. High hepcidin heart failure, they block the iron release, they reduce the iron uptake. There's internalization and degradation of the ferroportin in enterocytes and macrophages. Hepcidin wants to conserve all the iron stores and doesn't allow it to go into the bloodstream. So it results in iron deficiency. There's complete shutdown of iron absorption from the enterocyte and iron recycling from the macrophage and iron storage from the hepatocyte. High levels of hepcidin trap iron in the storage cells without allowing the iron to get into the bloodstream. And here, one interesting thing is there's very limited use of oral iron in these things. Frequent dose-related gastrointestinal adverse events are very common. We all know about it. It's a very big problem to give your patients oral iron, particularly with ferrous sulfate. It affects up to 20% of the patients. There's constipation with iron, constipation occurs, dyspepsia occurs, bloating, nausea, diarrhea, heartburn. It can adversely affect the nutritional intake also. And tolerance can be improved by taking oral iron tablets with food, but this decreases iron absorption. And impaired intestinal absorption of iron also is very common due to hepcidin upregulation and presence of mucosal edema and reduced villous blood flow. Oral iron is less rapidly effective, and there's a risk of poor medical adherence in such patients. This cartoon tells you exactly the effect of oral or IV therapy on the hepcidin block. When patient is normal, the macrophage to the blood, the plasma transferrin, the ferroportin helps the transfer of iron into the plasma transferrin. But in the chronic disease, hepcidin block occurs. It totally blocks the iron into the macrophage. It doesn't come out. So level is very low, 15 milligram per deciliter. And in chronic disease, when there's a hepcidin block, even when you give oral iron therapy, iron is trapped in the macrophage and doesn't go to circulation because of the hepcidin block. So only oral iron is not that much effective due to this hepcidin block. Whereas if you give IV iron, it directly overcomes the hepcidin block. A lot of iron is present in the macrophage. So overexpression of the ferroportin happens, and iron is really increased, as you can see in the cartoon. The rate of absorption of iron therapy is inadequate to influence this hepcidin block, and IV iron therapy results in high intracellular iron levels, which overcome the hepcidin block by stimulating the overexpression of ferroportin. The effects of oral iron repletion in excess capacity in patients is a study which is done the effect of oral iron for patients with the excess capacity which is very low, with heart failure, with reduced infection and iron deficiency. This is a complex slide. The conclusion is among participants with iron deficiency and HFRF, high dose oral iron minimally augmented iron dose and did not improve excess capacity over 16 weeks. These findings do not support the use of oral iron supplementation to treat iron deficiency in patients with HRF. And so, ESC heart failure guide, they recommend IV ferric carboxyl to treat iron deficiency in HFEF. Recommendation is a class 2A A-level recommendation. Intravenous FCM, ferric carboxymaltose, should be considered 2-year-old women referred for optimization prior to surgery for breast cancer. So optimization of all the levels should be done for major surgery like the breast cancer. She had a prior MA patient. She's a known HFRF patient. The heart failure drugs already optimized. Carvedilol, she's on ARNI, she's on eplerenone. And there are few heart failure symptoms. She can climb up 2 stairs, limited walking due to arthritis. ECG shows sinus rhythm 710 beats, which is quite good. LBB pattern is there in the ECG. Echo shows LVF of 34%. eGFR is 46 and HbA1c is 38 millimole, which is less than 7%. But her ferritin is 46 micrograms and TSAT is 12%. When you remember our normal values, ferritin less than 100 is iron deficiency. This is only 46. And when there is iron deficiency, TSAT should increase. But here it is not so. TSAT is only 12% for this patient. So what treatment will you recommend for this patient pre-surgery? Add DAPA 10 milligram to improve heart failure, or add ivabradine 2.5 milligram BD to give strength to the heart, or cardiac reconstruction, or oral iron therapy, or intravenous iron therapy. The answer is obvious: intravenous iron therapy. Only this will hit the target right. So take a message from this is iron deficiency is an emerging therapeutic target in heart failure. In patients with heart failure, iron deficiency is frequent but overlooked. The prevalence of 30 to 60%, 50%. It contributes to cardiac and peripheral muscle dysfunction. Iron deficiency is associated with poorer clinical outcomes and a greater risk of death independent of hemoglobin level. Recent European guidelines recommend the monitoring of iron parameters, that is serum ferritin, transferrin saturation, etc. for all patients with heart failure, use of IV iron treatment of ID in heart failure. So we'll go to the second part of the talk now. Treatment of iron failure, iron deficiency in heart failure, how to screen, how to treat, and what to target. So let's have a heart-to-heart about heart diseases here. So this again is another case. She's a 66-year-old woman, weight 65 kilos, 160 centimeter. She's a bit obese. There's no pulmonary congestion, no peripheral edema. BP is 108, 70, heart rate is 64. Sinus rhythm, thanks to her beta blocker carvedilol, heart rate is quite low. MI treated with primary PCA 6 years ago. Post MI, that's heart failure. Her LVEDD is 61, LVEF is 33%. Hyperkinesia of antiretroviral is present. Type 2 diabetes medicine for 10 years. There's one episode of LVF, left ventricular failure, 6 months back, and she's got New York Heart Association class 2 angina symptoms. She's on carvedilol, Arni, epinephrine, torsemide, atorvastatin, aspirin, metformin, and empagliflozin, which are very good drugs. And hemoglobin is very good, 13.8. Hematocrit is 40%, their MCP is 95. All the values look quite good and healthy. So what are another blood tests you want to do for this patient? Yes, we should do a serum ferritin, and we should do a T-sat saturation, which is very important as well. Just now discussed in the previous talk. And which patients, this is a very interesting slide, I'll explain to you. Which patients will, which patients with heart failure or iron deficiency based on the following parameters. You got patient number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hemoglobin, all of them is just 13.9 and 4. Beautiful. 14 grams hemoglobin is there. Iron also is okay. And the patient number 2 is iron is slow, patient number 3 is slow, and total iron binding capacity is given. T-sat is 43 in the patient number 1, 17 in patient number 2, 22 in patient 3, and 19 in patient number 4. Ferritin level also given 40, 120, 119, 33. So here, iron deficiency diagnosis patient number 1 and patient number 2. Patient number 1 because ferritin is less than 100. Patient with a T-sat less than 20, if the ferritin is between 101 to 299 is ID, iron deficiency anemia. Whereas other patient number 3 and patient number 4 escape that. Patient number 3, T-sat is more than 22 and ferritin also is good. And patient number 4, T-sat is, even though it's low, ferritin is more than 300, it's 330. So patient number 1 and patient number 2 are diagnosed with iron deficiency anemia. So iron deficiency is prevented in chronic heart failure, in also in non-endemic, just the disease severity assessed by NYHA class and N2 proved to be powerful and independent predictors of disorders in iron status. Iron deficiency is defined as, again, serum ferritin less than 100 and ferritin 100 known in T-sat is like that. So you got iron deficiency, but interesting. Iron deficiency, but not anemia, is associated with reduced exercise capacity and all-cause mortality in patients with heart failure. You can see peak oxygen consumption occurs when there's no anemia and no iron deficiency. Where there's anemia, is low. Here, similarly here, and the HR for all-cause mortality, this was still we already seen in the previous presentation. When there's IDA, no anemia, it's really high. So the clinical case, the iron status is hemoglobin is 13.8, iron is 100 microgram, total iron binding capacity is 380 microgram, T-sat is 23%, and ferritin is just 60 microgram, very low. So how will you start iron supplementation in this patient with heart failure? You can give oral iron supplementation, you can give IV iron supplementation, or you can give both oral and IV. No, there's no indication of iron supplementation in this patient because HB is very good. As the answer is obviously IV oral supplementation. The clinical evidences of IV ferric carboxymaltose therapy in heart failure, 5 very big trials: FAIR-CARS, FAIR-HF, CONFIRM-HF, meta-analysis, and EFFECT-HF. All these are proved beyond doubt. Range from 2009 to 2016 that ferric carboxymaltose stands out in these patients. The FAIR-HF trial, treatment with intravenous ferric carboxymaltose in patients with chronic heart failure and iron deficiency with or without anemia, it improves functional capacity and quality of life. Total number of patients are 459, and you can see the self-reported patient global assessment is very high. 6-minute walk test has improved very well. Functional class, NY class has improved, and EQ, visual analog score, also is very good with these patients. And CONFIRM-HF trial again proved with 304 patients with LV of less than 45, iron deficiency, and primary endpoint was once the patients started the therapy, FCM proved to be much superior when as far as fixed-wing walk is concerned, and treatment of symptomatic iron deficiency heart failure patients with FCM over a 1-year period resulted in sustainable improvement of functional capacity, symptoms, and quality of life. It may be associated with risk reduction in hospitalization or worsening heart failure. The effects of ferric carboxymaltose on hospitalization and mortality rates in iron deficient heart failure patients and individual patient data meta-analysis. This also showed all the events were so much reduced in the FCM pool. And why not oral therapy? Just now we mentioned about it. This slide already seen among the participants with iron deficiency and HFRF. High dose oral iron, it minimally augmented iron stores only. It did not improve the exercise capacity over 16 weeks. So in the oral iron repletion effects on oxygen uptake in heart failure, as the iron out study, you could see in the iron out study, when you give the iron orally, it hardly the ferritin level rises when compared to the placebo. Whereas when you give in the FAIR-HF study, when you give FCM, IV FCM, it goes to the peak, it crosses 300 in just over 6 weeks. So screening, diagnosis, and treatment of iron deficiency in chronic heart failure, putting the 2016 European Society of Cardiology heart failure guidelines into clinical practice. This interesting paper by Teresa McDowell and et al. Presented in 2018, just 2 years back. This is a very important slide. When a patient comes to you with chronic HFRF with the New York Heart Association 2 to 4 symptomology, first step will be check iron deficiency status. If the ferritin is less than 100 microgram per liter, or the ferritin is 100 to 910 when T-sat is less than 20. Step 2, check anemia status. Should do a hemoglobin. For the male, hemoglobin should be more than 13, should be less than 13. Female, it should be less than 12. If it's not that, then give iron deficiency anemia. If it's less than 13, less than 12 in male and female, should exclude other causes of anemia depending on the clinical status. When there's no other cause is found, you should go to step 3, should give iron deficiency treatment. And you should always remember that the HP is more than 15 grams per deciliter, do not administer IV iron. This you should remember always. So this is the first part you've seen. So this is the dosage guidelines of FCM. Consider a single dose of ferric carboxymaltose, 500 to 1000 milligram to correct iron deficiency. Could calculate total iron need using the table. Hemoglobin ranging from 10 to 15 is given there. Weight also from less than 35 kilos to more than 70 kilograms. The whole range is there, and you should always do this. And once you do it, check ferritin and T-sat at next scheduled visit, not 1 month or 2 months, but after 3 months. And step 5, check ferritin and T-sat 2 times per year, or if change in clinical practice and if hemoglobin decreases. And the practical guidelines is a very important slide on the treatment in patients with chronic heart failure. How should IV iron be administered, especially the FCM? Determination of the initial iron need is calculated just as I told the previous slide. This is a beautiful slide which shows you everything, how to calculate and all. You can download the net also. If you can ask me, I can forward it to you, your WhatsApp also. So how should iron be administered? Determination of the initial iron need is calculated based on the body weight and HB levels. And the FCM may be given intravenously as an undiluted slow bolus injection or as an infusion that requires dilution. If given as an infusion, it should not be over diluted. The maximum recommended cumulative dose of FCM is 1000 milligram of iron, 20 ml FCM per week. Patients should be observed for adverse effects for at least 30 minutes following each IV injection. Where to perform treatment, not necessarily in the hospital alone. If FCM can be administered in the hospital, or it can be administered even the community setting where staff are trained and equipped to monitor for and manage hypersensitivity reactions. Monitoring of iron status. Following replacement, iron status should be re-evaluated in 3 months, not earlier than that, and further iron repletion provided as needed, as well as evaluation for blood loss as indicated. Yearly re-evaluation of iron status, that is within 4 weeks of IV iron administration, should be avoided as ferritin levels increase markedly following IV iron administration, and they cannot be used as an indicator of iron status during this time. Consider evaluating iron status as part of routine practice in patients with known CHF 1 to 2 times per year, or when symptoms remain despite receiving optimal background heart failure medications. And how should this dose of carfentanil be administered in this patient with heart failure? Just to recall, intravenous bolus after an allergy test, intravenous 15 minutes infusion after an allergy test, intravenous 15-minute infusion without an allergy test, and intravenous 30-minute infusion without allergy test. We should remember FCM does not need allergy test. I've given FCM to so many patients, so many, even more than 200, 300 patients. I even find it in the past 10 years or so. I have not seen a single case of allergy so far when I give them. Not essentially, not always in heart failure patients, but also a patient who are severely anemic or anemia due to other causes. Hemoglobin was just 4.6 or just 5, 6. You give this ferrium, ferrium is absolutely non-toxic. It loads the patient's iron so beautifully. There's no body ache, there's no nausea, no vomiting, no patient gets up so beautifully. You just mix it with 100 ml normal strength and give it over a period of 15 to 30 minutes. That's all. No allergy test needed. IV 15 minutes. The answer is obviously intravenous IV 15 infusion without an allergy test is what you can infusion. If the patient was administered the first dose of ferric carboxymaltose, iron parameters and hemoglobin levels should be checked before the administration of second dose in this patient with heart failure 6 weeks after the first dose. Should you do this? Yes or no? Yes, but only hemoglobin level. Yes, but only serum protein and TSAT. Or you should do hemoglobin level and serum protein and TSAT. Answer is you should do both, all three: hemoglobin, serum protein, and TSAT, because the hemoglobin rises more than 15, should not give FCM again. And serum protein and TSAT are still low, can go for another dose after 6 weeks. And when should iron status be checked? Again, this patient heart failure, this I already mentioned, just to revise, recoup after 1 month, after 3 to 6 months, after 6 to 12 months, and after 12 to 24 months. Answer is, of course, after 3 to 6 months. Because if we check it before 3 months, the first month, second month, the ferritin levels will be really very high because of the IV injection which we were given. So this is the clinical case, clinical characteristics of the lab test of 6 months. The clinical stability during this and 6 months is now hemoglobin, the peak VO2 is 18.3 as compared to previous 15. HB was 14.2 when compared to 13.8 previously. N was 125 as compared to previous 100. Total iron binding capacity was 323 now, and TSAT was 29, previously it was 23. And more importantly, ferritin is 211, previously it was only 60. So can you give other IV preparations? This question will come to you naturally. There are a lot of things in the market. There's iron dextran, there's iron gluconate is there, iron sucrose is there, ferrimoxetol is there, ferric, our brand FCM is there. Of these, you can see iron dextran should be given time by drip infusion for maximum 4 to 6 hours. Should keep on giving it. It's not short. You will going on with 4 to 6 hours. Iron, and you need a test dose. Yes, you need a test dose for iron dextran. For iron gluconate, 30 minutes or 6.5 milligrams should be given. And iron sucrose, some countries they say they should give test dose, or some say you don't need it. You should give over a period of 30 minutes. And ferrimoxetol should give in just 17 seconds IV injection only. Whereas the FCM up to 1000 milligram, you can give 15 over a period of 15 minutes in infusion, and both injection also you can give. So evidence-based answer, so many studies have taken place, as I already told you. FCM is the preferred agent, and ferric carboxymaltose has added advantage for the other IV formulations also. So ESC 2016 heart failure guidelines recommend considering intravenous FCM to treat iron deficiency in HF. It's the class 2A level A evidence. Iron deficiency intravenous FCM should be considered in symptomatic patients with HFRF and iron. Again, same thing. Serum protein less than 100, ferritin 100 to 99, and transferrin saturation is less than 20. And intravenous associated with. And a lot of studies are still going on. The hepcidin has come, it has revolutionized everything, and still a lot of studies going on. How this happens? What's the mortality when there's anemia, when iron deficiency? The effect of IV and the mortality in HFRF with ID, management of iron deficiency with IV iron in HFPF, and management of iron deficiency with IV and acute heart failure. All these things are going on. So many ongoing trials are there addressing gaps in evidence. There's a FAIR HF2 study, Heart FID study, Ironman study, FAIR HF PF study, and AFFIRM HF. All these things are going on. You can expect the results in 1 or 2 years, and we'll have a more clear picture. To summarize, iron deficiency, even without anemia, is common but neglected comorbidity in heart failure. This predictor of reduced exercise capacity, quality of life, and need of hospitalization. The relevant cutoff values are ferritin less than 100 microgram and ferritin 100 to 200 when PSAT is less than 20, and IV ferric carboxymaltose leads improvements in quality of life, physical well-being, exercise capacity, and reduced hospitalization for heart failure. So this is my last slide. Thank you slide. The most deadly disease truly is the failure of heart, as scored by Oscar Arias. Thank you. So I am now ready for questions for interaction. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your detailed and insightful talk on this important topic. Now I would request delegates, if you're having any questions, you can put your questions in chat box, or you can unmute yourself. There are many questions in chat box that we will take first. First question is, sir, I'll read the questions for you, sir. Hello.
Sure. I will first will from
Dr. Kumaran sir has one question. I think he wants to.
Supplementation of IVIN has become a part and parcel of treatment of heart failure. I see our cardiologists using this FCM quite often.
Yes, sir.
Severe heart failure. The thing is, there was a question by one of the ferritin.
Yes, sir.
In COVID-19 patients. I think ferritin is an acute phase reactant.
Yes, sir.
So you should not depend on that in patients with COVID-19.
That's true. That's true.
Number one. Number two is, again, I don't know whether all laboratories have facilities to do this ferritin and iron saturation and other things. So it is very important to know about it. We have been using FCM for quite some time in pregnancy. Our gynecologists, they use it often, especially patients with iron deficiency anemia seen in pregnancy. There also it is quite useful. Another question was, I think, about what is the medium to be used. I think normal saline.
Normal saline, which I usually use, sir. Should I use for patients with severe anemia? I've been using a lot, sir, for the past 3-4 years. I'm using a lot of this injection ferrium, actually. Sir, in fact, I was a patient with anemia in 2003, I believe. My hemoglobin dropped to 8.3. I was having very dyspneic. I couldn't walk. I'm still vegetarian. And Dr. Joe Yusho from Apollo, Chennai, hematologist, he told me, because you are a strict vegetarian, you are having this problem. You take injections of B12 and iron tablets at that time, and my hemoglobin improved, sir. After reading this, I studied in depth about this presentation. I got curious. I checked my hemoglobin ferritin yesterday. My hemoglobin is 12.8 and ferritin is just 35, sir. I got a result today, 35 only. So I think I'll have to have myself an IV dose of ferrium. I think no, it's very obvious, and people we should look for that. This newer parameters to screen for in all anemia patients and patients with heart failure and who are really susceptible to develop such diseases. I think we'll have to use these parameters, sir.
There are some other questions, I think.
Whether it's used for LV, used for LV reduced fraction. Yes, sir. Even it's very helpful. Irrespective of the LV function, you are going to give just 100 ml of normal saline. You don't need a lot of volume of the patient. 100 ml. And you can even give direct IV slowly over a period of 5 minutes without diluting with the normal saline also. So will it be...
Sir, I just take the questions for your convenience. One by one, there are a lot of questions are there.
Please, sir.
Sir, there are a high prevalence of iron deficiency is true as per your communication, as per data also, but still usage is very less in IV iron. Yes. Any specific reason, sir, in Tamil Nadu?
They are not actually diagnosed with anemia usually. Only when they compare surgery or any other disease, they are being exposed. That incident is not about the patient, it's the whole community. Whole community is so high as to 35 to 40% of the patients are anemic. And it's been studies have showed that we South Indians especially, just as we are more prone to develop insulin resistance and hypertension and its complications early, we are developing anemia also. This has been postulated by one of the scientists here. They told in our community we are this group of diseases come as a block. So we don't know, some malabsorption, iron is not absorbed properly. Hepcidin came only in the year 2000. Only after that, all these things were there. Even before that, we are chronically anemic. Even with lot of, as I told you, my hemoglobin was just 8.3. I'm a strict vegetarian. I don't even take yet, but I take lot of greens per day, lot of greens. I don't know how my hemoglobin was so low.
This problem, I think I have a small suggestion.
Yes, sir.
People with anemia who come, the youngsters, it's always better to look for any worm infestation.
That's true, sir.
We used to give
it's very common, antiarrhythmic.
Followed by so loss of blood to the intestine. If it is positive, then it is better to do what is called endoscopy, upper GI endoscopy and lower GI endoscopy to rule out any possibility of a bleeding problem in the intestines. It's very important.
Even celiac disease is they are prone to develop severe anemia. Patients with celiac disease because of the malabsorption. You have to screen them for that also, as and when necessary. It's a big workup.
Of course, when patients with anemia, supplemental with iron is not always associated with it. Supplement minerals like zinc, copper, etc.
Yes, sir.
For better absorption.
Yes, sir. B12 is important. B12, B9, all vitamin C is very important. The things you should. Vitamin C is very. When I give oral iron therapy, you should see that you don't give it with calcium preparation. You don't give it with milk. In fact, I was asked to take iron tablets. Livogen said 2 tablets twice daily. 1 hour before or 1 hour after what I've taken. I should take it with coffee. I should take it with breakfast. With clear 1 hour gap between my iron tablets and the other food intake.
Good stuff.
Milk interferes with iron absorption.
Sir, another couple of questions, sir,
Please.
from Dr. Palanichami Tangam.
Okay.
He asked, doctor has asked, when to check the erythropoietin deficiency?
So even when the iron stores are normal, when suspect erythropoietin is especially in patient with CKD, chronic renal failure, probably you'll have to check that, sir, erythropoietin deficiency, because that occurs last. As in the initial cartoon which I told you, that comes the last. Once the transferrin iron stores are depleted, transferrin is also gone. Then only you develop a microcystic anemia because of erythropoiesis pathology. They can go for a bone marrow aspiration, or you can check your renal levels, renal parameters in that way.
I have a comment, Dr. Sekhar, regarding.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Patient with CKD will always have a
Anemia.
normochromic anemia. That's one thing. And the patient, any patient with the 60 or 30, it's better to do a erythropoietin and do erythropoietin supplements. It's available.
Injection, available, sir.
You don't get what is called microcytic hypochromic. It's normocytic normochromic anemia. CKD. Any chronic disease for that matter.
Yes, sir.
Sir, thanks, Dr. Kumaran sir also. Thanks, sir. And the same Dr. Palanichami sir has asked, if GFR is 56, what are the chances of renal anemia?
Just now, sir has answered that question. Just now, Kumaran sir answered.
What are the, sir, and what are the other manifestation of iron deficiency without anemia?
Before going on that, regarding when the GFR is lower than normal, it's better to see a peripheral smear rather than just checking for the hemoglobin alone. The peripheral smear will give a what is called a point about whether it is normochromic, normocytic. In a PCV, MCV you will have to see. MCV, if it is between 70 to 96, I think it is normocytic, normochromic.
Normochromic.
Whereas if it is less than 70, it is hyperchromic and microcytic anemia. If it is more than 96, it is called macrocytic anemia. It's not seen in CKD, but of course it is seen in
B12 machines. Yes, sir.
And in those patients with chronic gastric problems, etc. And those patients, like as you said, pure vegetarians.
Yes, sir.
Then we have the
And even patients who take long doses of
metformin.
PPAs, metformin, yes, all these things are known to produce anemia, yes, sir. NSAIDs can produce a microbleed.
They can cause what is called GI blood loss. Rest of the day, when fine citizens. Nice to see you, Murli. I saw your photos. Wonderful.
Unmute பண்ணீங்க Murli. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Very nice comment.
Really, a beautiful conversation is going on.
Yes.
And Kumaran sir has given a beautiful add-on points, practical points.
Murli, all the questions you will answer.
It is going very beautiful. And sir has given all the additional points.
Yes.
Pakka points. So when should be given CKD below GFR 50, what to do? So many nice points.
I'm so happy. This happens every this happens. All the meetings this happens.
I take this chance platform to return my views. Kumaran sir வந்து அவரை எத்தனை மீட்டிங்ல பார்த்திருக்கேன், லைவ் மீட்டிங்லயும் பார்த்து இதுலயும் பார்த்திருக்கேன். He is a great scholar, a legend. மனசுல உள்ள 100% இதுதான் சார் எங்களுக்கு. நீங்க வந்து எந்த டாபிக் எப்ப கொடுத்தாலும் இவார் எக்ஸ்ட்ரோபாவா பேசக்கூடிய கெபாசிட்டி உள்ளவர் சார். நீங்க எந்த மீட்டிங்ல நீங்க கனெக்ட் ஆனாலும் எங்களுக்கு சேகர் ரைட்லி டோல்ட், எனக்கும் சேகர் என்ன சந்தோஷம் வரும் அப்படின்னா மிஸ் ஒன் பாயிண்ட் it will be highlighted by you. அது எந்த சந்தேகம் கிடையாது எங்களுக்கு.
ரெண்டாவது even at this age he goes on attending meetings. Last time சொல்ல சார் I got attending meeting 9 o'clock போறாரு. 7 to 9 goes on.
இல்ல சில டாக்டர்ஸ் என்ன செய்வாங்கன்னா லேர்ன் பண்ணாத மீட்டிங் அட்டெண்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. குமரன் சார் டீச் பண்ணாத அட்டெண்ட் பண்றாரு அவ்வளவு. Really we are happy sir. Really we are happy. Plus you. The Pakkawa on the you made it as a meaningful and fruitful one, sir. Really, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murali. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Very nice, sir. Thank you, sir.
My wife is calling.
Okay, please, sir.
Okay, good night.
Thanks, sir. Good night.
On behalf of MQ, just two things. I mean, nowadays, COVID patients are having because a lot of senior doctors are there. So low frequency, they have high efficiency. Hospitals are more are believe even to get very patient. Will
Nobody has been given less.
Today these reference studies, and he made his point very clear. Iron deficiency, particularly for heart failure patients, is very much a need of the hour. By work cannot be avoided. He himself given his own lab report data also. So quite interesting. And actually also, while doctor is saying, I am also has to think about myself. I have to check my serum ferritin or T-cell, whatever it is. So again, my
Ferrium injection, sir. That's why I'll ask you. Can I have a shot of ferrium injection? Because my ferritin is just 35, sir. My ferrium is only 35, less than 100. Hemoglobin is 12.6, I believe. Yes, sir. 12.8.
That's our lower limit of normal. You can take oral tablets.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kumaran sir, for your extraordinary support
Yes,
for
sir.
this meeting, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the doctors who made the program successful. Thank you so much. We have one product, Ferrium 1K FCM in our basket, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Nice, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
you.
Thanks.